Hi, welcome to this week's episode. Been an absolutely beautiful Easter weekend. I suppose if you're going to be stuck in your house in your garden, at least the weather's good. I really think it's lifted certainly my spirits, and above all it's meant that I've been able to get a lot of hard work done in the garden. I've got my tip this week, which is to do with splitting hostas, so how you can divide hostas to get more plants, and indeed you can apply that to most perennial plants. We're going to be looking at hostas. Before I do that, I thought I'd just give a bit of an update. I started this series off with a tour of the garden, just listing all of the jobs that I had to do, and slowly but surely, with all this time on our hands, I've been rattling through them. So just give you a bit of an update. I've cleared the patio area here, done all the weeding from in between the flags, give it a good brush, cut back the passion flower, which is like a triffid, it grows that much. Also cut back the buddleia in the corner. Buddleias you can cut right back hard. They're pretty hardy plants, as you've probably seen if you've ever been on a train in this country. They grow pretty much everywhere. I've also done a lot of work on the pizza oven, which is something that I treated myself to a number of years ago. Every year it needs maintenance before you start using it, so you fill in the cracks that appear. They're just expansion cracks, so you fill them in with decorator's cork so that they can continue to expand as it gets hot. Give it a fresh lick of paint, treat the rust and paint the door surround, and then you light a few small fires before you can whack it up to pizza temperature. So decided to treat myself to a beautiful ribeye steak on one of those fires. Waste not, want not, as they say. I've also done a lot of work on the decking. As you know from that first video, the deck was pretty rotted. It had sunk all the way down one edge. Unfortunately, try as I might, I can't find anywhere during this time that will deliver decking boards and timbers. And so I've had to kind of make do with what I've got. A good friend of mine dropped me off some spare bits of timber, so I've managed to repair all of the joist area, and then I've just reused the boards that I've got. It's not ideal, but I'll give them a good pressure wash and it'll do until the world gets back to normal. Might even do till next year, we'll see. Really happy with how that looks. I didn't get around to doing anything with it last year. It's just looked grubby and covered in algae, and now it's just an absolutely fantastic space. And what I've tried to do with this garden is to create different rooms, different sections, which is a tip that I picked up, I think, from Gardeners World actually, where if you've got a small garden, the way to make it feel bigger is to break it up into different areas. So I've got the patio area, I'm now really happy with that. Again, I've got the decking area, I'm happy with that. There's still some work to do on the main garden, although that's looking better, and there's definitely work to do down at the pond end, which I'll cover off in another video. I've even managed to sort out the summer house, which, as you'll know from that video, was completely full of junk. We've now turned that into a cool little yoga studio, workout space, which me and my wife have both been using, and it's made a big difference, you know, when you've got somewhere else, even if it's kind of a few metres out of the back door, to go to and kind of unwind and enjoy. Little things like that make a big difference. Above all, I say this every episode, I've just enjoyed being in the garden. The cherry blossom at this time of year looks absolutely magnificent. There's nothing quite like it in the garden, I don't think. I've got a pink one and a white one, both out at this time and just looking fantastic. I've got some tulips which have naturalised from when I planted hundreds of bulbs a few years ago. Really wish I got out there and planted a few more in November, but hindsight's a funny thing. Got the small glimpse of the wisteria plant coming through, and in a week's time, probably next week's video, that is going to be something to see because that will look spectacular. And just sitting by the pond enjoying the fish coming out of hibernation. We've had a frog sort of calling out for a mate in the evenings, and bird song, and just, you know, it's just really peaceful. We live on a road, and you'll probably hear a few cars in the hosta video that I'm about to do. But by and large, it's been really quiet and really nice. So anyway, moving on to the tip, looking at hostas. So I'll pass this over now Thanks very much.
So you can see this is a good plant, starting to come up now, but it's getting a bit big for this pot. So what we want to do is we're going to get 2 for 1. You can do this with a number of perennial plants. I'm going to show you it with hostas, but any number of plants, and either you can take them out of the soil, out of the flower bed, and divide them, put them back in the flower bed, or you can do this with pots. So you got your empty pot there. You've got your hostas there. First thing you need to do, hostas like damp conditions, so you don't want loads of drainage, but anything in a pot you don't want it to get waterlogged. It can crack the pot, it can damage the plants, even something that will take a lot of wet, like the hosta. So get your crocks. One big one over the hole.
Okay, so next step is getting the plant out of the pot. So place your hand with your fingers in between the leaves. Be very careful of the leaves themselves, and that'll hold most of the soil in while you turn your pot upside down like that. Give it a tap, pull from the bottom, give it a shake, and voila, that should get the plant out of the pot. Carefully place it back the right way round, and now we're ready to divide. So if we have a look at the hosta plant here, you can see it naturally sits into 2 halves. And what we want to do is we want to divide down the middle. Now some types of perennial plants you can just pry open, but with hostas we're going to need to go big or go home. So take your spade, and we need to be quite aggressive on this. So make sure you're not getting into the leaves, move the leaves out of the way. Get your spade right in the middle down that natural divot, and then just get your foot on there and go for it.
Okay, done. Now you've got 1. You can see there where I've cut across. And 2. Okay, so got our pot. Got our second pot. First thing we want to do, get our compost. Fill this up. What you want to do is put just enough in so that when you get your plant in, it's going to sit right. So just keep checking it. Need to add a bit more. Let's check that. So you can see there, leaving enough space to top dress into water. That's spot on. Now we fill in the edges.
Once you've filled up all the edges, you then want to top dress the plant, leaving a few of the leaves poking out the top, just so you've got a nice layer of compost on top.
Okay, there we go. 1, 2. So I hope you found that video useful. I hope it's something you're going to get out in your own garden and give it a try. What's the worst that could happen? I said at the start of this video that I didn't think there was anything more beautiful in the garden at this time of year. In fact, at any time of year than the Japanese cherry blossoms. Every year they take me by surprise because they start off just bare branches and then buds appear and then just an absolute explosion of colour and beauty. And then they turn to leaf and then they die back again, and the cycle continues every year. And it's that surprise that's one of the joys of gardening, and it's one of the lessons I think we can take with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, which is that, you know, when things are bare branches, spot the buds, because things do come back. Year after year, plants surprises. And I think in the same way, it's worth remembering that things will come back and bloom, and good times will return again. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can follow me on Twitter and you can follow me on Instagram at Lockdown Garden on both. Love to hear from you, comments below. And yeah, I'll be back next week, but until then, I'll see you in the garden.